So suppose that there is indeed that this particular relationship, income tomorrow and nutrition, is indeed S-shaped. And suppose that you were a very poor person, so you were in the low part of the S. And suppose that you happen onto a bit of money. What would you do with this money? If that relationship was indeed, if this relationship between income and nutrition was S-shaped, and you were a very poor person, but you find a pile of money on the ground, what would you do with the money?
Well, if that holds true, then you would want to eat more.
If that holds true, then you would want to eat more. So that means that if there is indeed an S-shape between income tomorrow and nutrition, then we should see a very strong relationship between nutrition and income for the very poor, because it is like an excellent investment. If you find yourself here, there is no better investment you can do than eating some more. So a first thing you can do is we can see whether poor people are really trying to put all of the possible money into food. Now the question is the possible money. So that means that we would find the share of food in the budget should be very high for the poor. And the second thing it would mean is that it would increase quite fast with income. And possibly it would again have a form of S-shape for the following reason. Suppose that you have some unavoidable expense to survive. For example, you need a house and you need some clothes. So unless you live like in a very hot country where you don't really need much clothes, you need a house, you need like a piece of land to put the house on, and you need some clothes. So someone who has a budget of 20 rupees will spend, say, 5 rupees on clothing and house. They can't do anything with more than that. And 15 rupees on food. Okay, so that's the poorest person. And then if there is really this S-shape here, this person would be somewhere here. So they would remain quite poor. And now another person, comparable in other respect, but has a total budget of 30 rupees, let's say because they have some non-labor income, or because they have a bit more wage, then they would also spend, they would still spend unavoidable expenses on clothing and houses, but they would not do any more. They would still do just the minimum, and they would spend all the rest on food. That means that when I increase the, by how much did I increase the income of this person? Sorry? 10. Yeah, 10 out of 20 in percentage term, that's 50%. And this is how much? That's harder. 25 out of 15. 25, an increase from 15 to 25. It's 10 on the basis of 15. 6. I trust you, you're the MIT student. So whatever it is, this is what's going to be on the video. 66? Let's go with 66. That means that when I increase your income by 50%, your expenditure on food increases by 66%. 66, so if I divide by one the other, that's what concept is it called? An elasticity. So this means the elasticity of food expenditure with respect to overall expenditure is more than 1 for the extremely poor. Because you start by having, taking care of your essential needs, and after that you're putting all of the money into food because you're thinking this is highly valuable. So this is one thing. And the second thing is now you go from someone who gets 30 rupees to someone who gets 45 rupees. So I've rigged this so that it's nicely another increase of 50%. And now this person who makes 45 rupees, I can spend a bit more on, they're already kind of over here somewhere. So the marginal value of 1 more rupees into food is not that high. So they're still going to spend a bit more on food, but only 5 rupees more. They're going to spend a bit more to have a nicer clothing and some houses. And now they can bring in entertainment, right? Because now their basic needs are taken care of. The marginal value of extra is not that high. So they can get into doing other things. So now the elasticity is going to be from 25 to 30. That's out of 25. Sorry? 20%, is it? Yes, 20%. 20% out of an increase in 50%. Now the elasticity is much less than 1. So what we would see is a group of people, the poorest people, where we have very high elasticity. And then for anybody who is somewhat richer, the elasticity of food consumption with overall budget would be less than 1, which is what people refer to as the Engel curve, which is the share of food of the budget increases less than proportionally. So the Engel curve refers to this phenomenon, which is the share of food increase less than proportionally as you become richer. But it's worth pointing out that in an S-shaped world, we would probably have a reverse Engel curve phenomenon where the elasticity, the share of food of the budget first increases and then decreases. So the question is, do we see this, that the poor spend as much money as they can on food? And the second question is, do we see this, which is, do we see anybody whose elasticity of food consumption with respect to budget is more than 1? So that's kind of where I want to go next.